Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of an Irish knitting podcast. I am Sam and I'm coming to you from Dublin in Ireland. This is my attempt of a knitting podcast with the intrusion of other life events, other passions, hobbies and other works that I'm generally doing around the day. If you are a new viewer, you can find me all around the internet. All the links are below in the description. I have a website, irishfarmart.com, which is basically my main source of informations, and a linked Instagram account, an Irish knitting podcast as well. I'm on Ravelry, on Coffee, if you would like to support this channel, and follow along and help me build this little community of creators around me. This helps a lot for me to learn, and as well I hope to give you back something. I'm blabbing already. I haven't been recording for a long while and I'm very rusty. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. It really means a lot. Your support is amazing. Thank you. So, last podcast has been probably a month ago. I've lost completely the cognition of time. But I was trying to make it a little bit different. Instead of talking about finished works or works in progresses, acquisitions, I wanted to give you a little bit of an insight into my daily life, my projects, my artistic endeavors and so on. And so I will try to do the same today. But let's start with the knitting. I have one finished works and a few works in progresses. And the finished work, of course, is my stunning Billy pullover by Sari Northlund, which I'm not going to try. It's too warm and this is so itchy still. But it's finished all the way to the bottom. Yeah, it's finished. So let's talk about this jumper. Apart from the color, I'm obsessed with it and I'm stunned that on camera it turned out quite nice as well. It's a very, very deep burgundy. This is from J.C. Rennie. The wool is from J.C. Rennie. It's a lamb's wool from the UK. It's one of those wools that is sold in big cones of yarn, and you need to wash it a few times in order to get rid of all the spinning oils to get the wool to feel actually super soft. It is called super soft wool. It's a finger away yarn that I held double to get a DK yarn, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. The idea came from basically someone I saw on the street that was wearing a nice, lovely cable sweater in this color, and I was like, I absolutely need one for myself, so I made one. It took a painstaking amount of time. I was so burned out by the end of this. The wool is sticking together a lot. The wool is very rough and is drenched in spinning oil, so the fibers tend to stick together, and you can imagine it's not the easiest wool for cables, and this is a full-on cable jumper. Now the wool is completely fine, but I'm noticing there are a lot of vegetable matters that I haven't noticed before, and I wonder if it's actually the wool or because I was drying this in the garden and some vegetable matters came onto it. But anyway, it's absolutely gorgeous. I, for the first time, weighted the amount of yarn that I used. Winding up the balls from the big cone using a kitchen scale, I used 400 grams of wool. Now, I weighted the jumper when it was finished, and after washing and all of that. Like this jumper here weighs a little less than 200 grams, which means we lost about 120 grams of weight. Now, is it possible that there's so much spinning oil to weigh 100 grams? I don't know. It's probably more likely I missed something about the counting, but I don't think so, because yeah, I was pretty precise in measuring. But yeah, it's gorgeous. I'm so tempted in trying this on, but yeah, I'm looking forward for a milder weather to be able to wear this. It's just an amazing color, and yeah, it's beautiful. The pattern. I have knitted this pattern many times. It's a great written pattern. It's a great pattern if you are looking for a cable sweater knitted completely in the round with no fuss at all. Super easy cables, super easy pattern to read, and there's no making up, sewing together, nothing like that. The pattern is written for a female shaped body with big, long, open sleeves. I haven't done that too much. I try to taper my sleeve down a little bit in order to get a tighter cuff. Having said that, the cuff is still a bit wide for my taste, so it's possible, and I've done that with previous Billy pullovers, that I am going to thread a bit of elastic in the inside to make this cinch a little bit so it gets to the wrist quite nice. Same it's to be said for the waistband. It's quite loose, and I think this is due to the quality of this wool. But apart from that, I'm super happy with it. I won't really change much more than these two very tiny little things that I just mentioned. The needles that I use for this is a combination of 3.25 millimeters for the cuffs and 4 millimeters for the body. Works completely fine, got bang on gauge. I made the third size, which should be the small size or the medium, but it's a recipe that works out all the time. So Billy pullover done. I think I am done with cables for a little while, although I do have a work in progress, which is a cable jumper. Now let me see if I can show you the right way. Does it show anything? This teeny tiny thing here is a work in progress of mine that I've been knitting for a long time. This is the sweater number 29 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And it's a new pattern that just came out. It's just a gorgeous little full-on cable jumper. For this I'm using Drops Daisy, another newish yarn. This is merino wool non-superwash, so it maintains a little bit of rusticness that I quite like, but it has all the merino feeling. It doesn't itch at all. For reference, this is a 50 gram ball by 110 meter, Bang On DK, 100% merino wool, non-superwash. And the color is 19, which is this dark blue here. Now I'm taking my time with this jumper because I only have 2 more balls left of yarn. And I should place an order, but I don't want to do that right now. So I need kind of to wait a little bit before splurging some money on this. But so far the pattern seems to be written quite well. There are a couple of question marks from my side, probably due to inexperience. I don't know. I need to look into that. Perhaps I write them up and I might send an email to my favorite things knitwear to get some clarification. But this is the most complicated part of the jumper. It's done, and now I have to knit the pipe of the body and pick up for the sleeves, knit the sleeves, Bob's your uncle. I'm knitting the second size on this with, let me tell you, right now the same combination, 3.25 and 4mm needles. Now, are you tired of works in progresses? I really hope not, because I just cast on another thing. So you may recognize this yarn here. This is the yarn in which I made the zipper sweater light by Petite Knit. There is a full series of project videos around that jumper. I made it, worked completely fine, the pattern was written very well. It was just a jumper that I would have never used. I decided to make that jumper after watching It Is Sarah podcast, and Sarah was making this jumper for her husband, and she made, the jumper has a zipper basically, and she made after that jumper another jumper in which she applied the same idea of the zipper sweater light in order to get the zipper setting. And she mentioned is a very good way to add a zipper to your jumper. So that's what I've done. I have knitted it to learn, basically, to have this set of skills in myself. But I was never gonna wear it. It wasn't my style at all. It was very baggy as a jumper, a lot of things. So I unraveled it and I got the full amount of yarn back. I think I threw in the bin like 20 centimeters of yarn or so, so very happy with that. And because now I got a jumper quantity of this Peer Gynt in this lovely mustardy color, I am knitting a cardigan. Peer Gynt 90 meters by 50 grams, if I'm right, a DK yarn from Sunness. And I'm knitting I have the pattern here that I can show you because it's for sale by Sunness. It's the number 8 North cardigan for men. It is a beautiful little cardigan with a colorwork yoke that I really enjoy very much. So that is coming very soon. I'm gonna put a picture here. I have already a couple of modifications that I want to make. The first being the collar. I would really like a tall collar, and that's something quite easily achievable, I think. Tall collar, turn and sew shouldn't be a crazy thing to make. The second thing is the color work. Although I do enjoy this color work, I don't know if I want to make my own flair color work wise. Could be quite simple, just taking the chart of this Nord cardigan and drawing my own color work. That might be an idea. We'll see how I am keeping up with this. I decided to make a cardigan because I find myself during the winter wearing literally all the time sports jackets around the house. Fleece jackets, zipper tops, stuff that, you know, sports jackets. And last winter I was like, well, wouldn't it be great if I had a cardigan knitted up? I had experience with cardigans, but all the projects that I made weren't really stuff that I would use on a daily basis. I don't know. I probably choose the wrong patterns, wrong colors, wrong yarn. No idea. So I put myself together and I decided to use a yarn that I really love, Peer Gynt, and to make a pattern that I think I will really love. And here we go. So as you can see, it's a bottom up. I'm knitting the bottom, and we have sticking. These are 5 stitches of pearl, which will be cut, and then from there you stick and you pick up stitches to make up the bottom bands and then the color afterwards. So yeah, I'm not worried about sticking at all, but you know, it is a bit of a piece of work. The good thing is just that it's stockinette in the round. Bob's your uncle, once again. Now, color work wise, I haven't decided what colors I'm gonna use yet. I don't really have any DK yarn in stash in colors that work well with this yellowish color, but yeah, I may need to have a look in my stash if I have some cones of host garn, perhaps that can work. My idea is a combination of grays and blues. I think they would work very well with that color. Anyway, the last little piece of work in progresses is this one. Once again, I've been working on my granny square, revised granny square blanket, and I'm not going to show you the entire piece because it's getting very big, but I have for now 37 of these little squares. They are about 10 centimeters square. So I have taken some measurements and I think I'm gonna need 20 squares in width. Now I don't know how many I'm gonna need in height, but putting them together made me realize how massive of a work this is, and yeah. Anyway, I'm crocheting one every now and then, just as I go. I really hope with the winter my knitting and crocheting mojo comes back in full force and allow me to actually get back into all of these projects. But so far I would like to concentrate on the yellow. The words today is just crazy. Well, I just came back from Italy and I've been speaking Italian for a week, but I can't get English words. Anyway, I was thinking about cardigan. I am gonna focus on the cardigan. Now, just mentioned that I was in Italy, and you may wanna see where I was. I was back in my hometown. I come from the Venetian region of Italy, from the north side of Venice, where the mountains, the Dolomites mountains are. And it was a great little break. Although I was working from there, I could go out for walks in the evening. The weather was fantastic. It was quite warm, but really, really enjoyable. The view over there is always amazing. It was great to have to spend some time with my family, my grandparents, my parents, my sister. It's always very nice. So I'm gonna leave you to a view of the place, and I'll come back to you in a second. So I really hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, I'm going to kind of bring you with me more often on this channel. What else have I been doing during this time? Well, as you know, I have been reading a lot in the last couple of months. Sorry about that. My dentist just called me. Apparently, I have an appointment on Monday. Yeah. Anyway, I was mentioning that I've been reading quite a lot. It's been a sort of a safe place for me to go into and kind of get some mindfulness and as well learn something and just escape from the routine of every day. But I'm not gonna get into that. Just it's worth to mention that it's been really beneficial for my mental health, and every day I can't wait for that half an hour just to focus on the reading. Something that really helped me is that I realized that I'm ditching a lot of television, a lot of social media to dedicate time to reading. So it's a very good thing not to be overwhelmed by the ugliness of the world. What have I been reading, you may ask? So I have here a pile of books that I have been reading since I last saw you. And two more that I'm gonna mention now, so I can put them here because I don't have them with me. So one, I read this in Italian, but I tried to find the the title in English for you all. So it's from Nietzsche, and it's called The Use and Abuse of History. It's a philosophical book about history, and it's my first book from Nietzsche. I was home, my sister studied philosophy in school, I had nothing to read, so I went into our family library and she added during the years a lot of books about philosophy. That was a very small book. I was like, I'm gonna get through in a couple of days, and it turned out to be quite easy to read. It's basically a conversation about the importance of history and how not to mistreat or misinterpret history. And yeah, it came back to me over and over around all the ugliness about the war, for example, or the hatred about, I don't know, against racist LGBT people and so on and so forth. So how that happened in the 19th century, in the 20th century, and now is happening again, seems like to recur. So Nietzsche is basically telling us, listen, you have to treat history in a very decent way if you want to learn something. Now, I'm not a philosopher, and my interpretation can be just very small and not really correct, but that's what I got from this book. Would I recommend it? I would recommend it, although it's kind of a boring read. Don't tell my sister I said that. The second book I read was in my list for a long time, and it's this one. This is the story or the history, the chronicle of one of my ancestors. It's not really an ancestor, it's a relative that passed away a few years ago. This guy, Gino, it's he fought on the revolution, the Cuban Revolution. Before that, Gino was the brother of my grandmother, and so basically great uncle. And during the Second World War, he fought with the partisan against the fascists in Italy. After the war, I'm summarizing the book basically. After the war, he was very unhappy about the post-war situation in Italy, and he thought that the partisans, although they fought against the fascists, they rebuilt a republic that was really backwards in terms of human rights and in terms of social and economical protection, perspective, and rights. So in the book, they mentioned somewhere is said that is basically as Italy after the war got back into a full-on fascist era. So what did he do with this will of fighting for freedom? He went to South America, and somehow he was in touch with the Cuban Revolution, with Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, and they met in, I would say Mexico, I should check. They met in Mexico and they organized the first, is it invasion of Cuba, with the boat, the very famous boat called the Grama. And in the book they tell you anecdotes about the fight that went on in Cuba, and I have to admit I didn't know anything about my relative or the Cuban Revolution. I just only knew that this guy, this uncle, fought the Cuban Revolution, and when he died we couldn't repatriate the body or something like that because it's buried there in, I don't know, a place where they bury heroes of the revolution and all of that type of thing. Anyway, one of the anecdotes that I thought was very, very interesting is how he taught Che Guevara and the other revolutionary to shoot a gun. This guy, Gino, was older than all of them. He fought in the Italian war before as a soldier and then as a partisan. So he had all these skills about organizing war. So he taught them how to hold the gun, fire, and so on and so forth, which I found quite interesting. And the second, probably more relevant thing is that he saved the life of Che Guevara himself. So it's quite interesting. Apparently, soon after they disembarked from the Grama into Cuba, they were running through some wasteland, and Che Guevara got a fit of asthma and basically was left behind with this fit, couldn't move and so on and so forth. So Gino went there, and because he was married with a woman that had asthma, he knew how to treat that fit the situation. So he got Che Guevara back into breathing motion, and then he led him with the rest of the fighters, the revolutionary. So it's a very small piece of my family history that I didn't really know about, and it's great that there is a book out there that can tell you everything about this guy. Anyway, going on, I have two books that I absolutely loved. So first of all, we have the Hunger Games. This book has been in my library over there for ages. I bought it when the movie was a hype. I never saw the movie before reading the book. I saw the movie last week at home because I was so fond of the book, and I was like, I should actually visualize it in the movie form, and it's a very good movie. The book, it's quite good as well. It's really simple to read. It's about 400 pages, but you can read this in nothing, 3-4 days. It's really simple. And I think it was written for young adults. I may be mistaken, but I don't know. It's a nice story. I have the next two over there, the shiny the shiny covers. I think I'm gonna go through them. It's just a very easy reading for the holidays. And then we have A Column of Fire by Ken Follett. This is the continuation of the Pillars of Earth and all of those books. Is the third. I really devoured this. Is the best discovery of 2024 for me, Ken Follett. I really get, how can I say this, lost into the magic world that he recreates. Reading through Goodreads, which is an app that tells you all reviews about books and so on, I found that people didn't like this as much. Basically tell the story of the fight against Catholics, a Protestant in England and across Europe. But I really enjoyed it, I have to say. It's a page turner for sure. Warmly recommend. I have two more of this saga to go, and I am keeping them there because I don't want to waste them. And then, what am I reading now? This thing here. This is from Mark Bloch. I'm reading this in Italian, but in English should be The Feudal Society. It's basically an historical manual. I have no idea how to say that. Chronicle, probably. About the feudal society in the Middle Ages. I don't know why I'm reading this. It's so far quite boring, a lot of names, a lot of dates. But someone told me that life is too short to read a fiction. And the vast majority of my book is fiction. I like reading fiction, but I'm really making an effort to read non-fiction books. And I know nothing about Middle Ages and the society over there, how they work. I'm very fond of history podcasts and so on, so I think this is a good book. So far I am reading about the Vikings and the barbarian invasions and all of these things. We'll see how it goes. And that was it for my reading situation. I'm looking forward for the next couple of weeks. I need to finish this book here, and then I will go through probably the Hunger Games series and the Ken Follett series as we go, and it's quite an exciting time. Now, I have no idea for how long I spoke, but I would like to tell you as well about my artistic life. There are two things that are happening as we speak. One is that I entered a portrait artist competition in here in Ireland, and the deadline for entering the competition is today. So basically, I entered the competition a month ago. I went through the first stage, and now they asked me for an original piece that I sent. Today should be the closing date to send the original, and then they will choose a pool of artists to go through the next stage, and that will be my hope to be chosen. And then if I am amongst the finalists, they will open a voting system on their website in order to get people to vote, so I will ask you to vote for me. Anyway, that's one thing. The second thing is my watercolor I'm trying to teach myself watercolor, and I've been doing quite a bit. So I'm gonna leave you to some watercoloring, and I will tell you about what I've been painting since I last saw you. So let's see if this works. I'm recording from my iPhone, so I'm not quite sure about the audio quality, but you know, you spend €1,000 on a phone, you're supposed to have a decent quality. Anyway, this is the sketchbook I've been working on during the last couple of months. It's a Moleskine sketchbook in A4 size. And the paper is a 200 GSM watercolor paper. If you're not familiar with that, 200 GSM is grams per square meter, if I'm right. So it means basically a paper is thick or less thick, depending on the GSM. I don't know why I'm getting into this. Anyway, it's not my favorite paper in the world, but I bought this long time ago, and yeah, I'm really enjoying. Anyway, the size is much larger from my usual sketchbook. Let me see if I can find one. This is what I use generally as a sketchbook, an A5. So you see it's basically half the size of the A4. And I really enjoy the possibility of having to cover more space and being able to have more details. Anyway, these are the pictures. This is from June. This is Christchurch here in Dublin. And as you can see, I've been trying to use a non-waterproof ink, which is this one. Is from Lamy, a German company, or used to be German at least. Non-waterproof means that with water it bleeds quite a bit. I do like this painting, this drawing is a bit more free from my general black line type of drawing, but yeah, there's still very much room for improvement. Same, using the same kind of technique. A view from Dublin. This is Dollar Street or something like that, if I'm right. I'm not quite happy with the little red sign. I thought it was a clever idea, but it's not. And this is an interior of a church from a picture that I found on Pinterest. The perspective is not great, but for some reason it's very striking, and I'm quite pleased with this as well. A little portrait, not happy with it at all. Let's just walk by. This is another reference photo that I found on Pinterest. And as you can see, I've been using waterproofing in this case and a food nib pen, which is this thing here. As you can see, the nib is bent. So it gives you the possibility of having thicker line or thinner lines depending of what angle you take on your paper. And by far, this is my favorite way of inking my picture. I'm quite happy with this painting. It's not brilliant by any side of the imagination, but it's not bad at all. And here we go with my Italian holiday. This is a mountain not very far from my hometown. This is called the Odle. I have no idea if there is an English translation, but it's a nice little peak, and I'm super happy with this. I use a combination of a waterproofing and my food nib with a black non-waterproof. I think this may turn into a print or something. It's by far the painting that I like the most. This is a view from a city nearby my town. It's called Brunico or Bruneck in German. It's just a little tiny view. Happy with the negative space, less happy with how it works here. I might add some sort of perspective down here to make it come together. Seems like the, what you call it, the buildings are a bit floating in the nowhere. A picture I found on Pinterest of a little pier somewhere, probably in Britain. I was just attracted by the picture. I wanted to try to paint it, and I'm quite happy with this. It has some charm. Back home, this is basically the view from my house. It's the local church, and behind you can see the mountains. Then, because I just decided to go very upward on my page, I had all this white space. So I added some Edelweiss, which is kind of the flower over there, the symbol of the region. So far I kind of like it. It took a lot of working, especially on the shadows, but it's not bad at all. This is a tiny little, I think it's a monastery, not really far from where I'm from. It's called the Meteora Monastery because it's really high up in a peak, and all this cluster of buildings are just hanging on the rock, so it's quite nice. The thing that I haven't managed to capture is this part here. This is supposed to be a roof that slopes down onto a wooden kind of room or building, and it looks like a block. I haven't managed to figure out the perspective there, and I was really overworking the piece, so I didn't want to touch it too much. But if you take off this part here, very happy with the shadows and the lights there, and especially the pine tree hugging basically the painting. This here is another view from the mountains beside or behind my house. I really like this. There should be a little stream of water running down. I left it white because I always try to leave some white negative space in my paintings. If you see here, down here, here, and so on and so forth. Once again, very happy with the mountains there. And the last one, this is the lake of Braies, which is half an hour from my place. This is a little shack on the top of the lake. Now, I'm happy with the little building, not happy with the mountain, not happy with the boats. I haven't figured out how to draw boats in a decent way. I follow a million tutorials, none worked. And B, the mountains is a bit rushed probably. I should have kept it a bit more simple, working on the negative space like I've done with this one. The problem here is that I was using a different watercolor palette, which is this one. So let me show you my actual watercolor palette. which is this one here. So they look extremely similar, don't they? But the problem that I got with this palette against this one, or the other way around, is that from this palette I know exactly the color, how they behave together, how they work, the composition, and so on. And you may think it's a bit of a trivial thing. When you have the color, it's fine. And true to be said, the vast majority of the colors are the same. These are kind of student color, or colors that I don't tend to use on a daily basis, and these are all professional watercolor. I know the brands, I know, once again, the composition and so on. So while these paintings generally are done with my proper palette, this one was done with this palette, my, let's call it, second palette. And this is because it was just open there, lying there. I never use it. I wanted to show some love to that, but yeah, it didn't really work out very, very much. And because I don't understand and I don't have a grasp on the color, how they behave, how they act together, as I have with my actual palette. So, lesson learned, I am probably going to pick and choose some of these colors to learn some more from them, but so far this is my sketchbook for the couple of months that I've been away from YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed that. I mean, I'm by far a professional watercolor artist, but I really like watercolor because it allows me to bring my sketchbook with me when I travel, when I go around the world, or every day. It's very quick, immediate. You don't need to have big equipment or let the paint dry for a long time. So it's like taking a picture in paper form. I really love it. I hope you enjoy this video all over the place, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, follow me, and if you want to support my channel, I have a coffee account. You can donate a penny for a coffee. I'm still looking to get a new computer, but I think that I need to wait way more than coffee can afford. And what else? Oh yeah, my patterns are on Ravelry if you would like to buy any. My paintings are on Etsy. I'm basically a selling representative now. Have a good day. Bye bye.